Hey friends, let's try this again. It's Ryan Smith, pastor at Common Thread Church again, coming at you with a live video. I tried it a little bit earlier, but I have a new used phone and the battery's not working right, so I went dead there for a second. So I had to charge it real quick. Let's hope that it gets us through this. As I was saying, as I started off, this journey on doing these podcasts, if you will, at noon have been a journey for me, walking through who Jesus is, learning about him, and because my perspective on what Jesus was for a long time was very different than who I see he as now. I used to see him as this guy that was meek, kind of pacifistic, really didn't have a lot to say for me today, didn't really, I hate to say it, but, appeal to the manly side of me, if you will, or whatever. But as I've learned more about him and wrestled with who he is, I've really found out he's this guy that, that really raged against the machine, that really stood up for things in a different way. And we talk about that at Common Thread as like the third way living. And to me, that's something I keep diving into, and because there's a lot of craziness that's going on around us right now. There's the political kind of thing that's going on. There's different narratives from different news agencies that we're getting out there. There's conversations about social injustice and all the things going around us, and even now the systemic racial divide that we're facing, and the fight that's going on in the news and on our Facebook feeds, and then you have all these conspiracy theories running rampant, right? All this craziness is going on. Everything feels real combative on all sides, right? It doesn't matter which side you come on. It's this very combative mindset, and so for me, last night, as I was looking at the parables and what I was going to dive into this week, I kept being pulled to the Sermon on the Mount. One of Jesus' greatest teaching moments. And more specifically, the first part, the Beatitudes. And so I decided to make an audible for this week, and I'm going to dive into the Beatitudes and see where they lead me, and more specifically, how I should respond in these turbulent times. I've been on this rhythm of posting every day during the weekday at noon, and today we're going to start a new rhythm, which I'm super excited pumped about. I'm going to be posting Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, which, if you're keeping track, that leaves Wednesdays open, and we're not going to leave it blank. I'm super excited about this, but we're going to start. Invited Sarah, my wife, to start making postings, some encouraging postings on Wednesdays, and super excited about it. She is going to do great. She hates me to do this. I'm not making her do it. I am, but I think you guys are hearing from her. And so that this Wednesday, but right now, let's dive into the Beatitudes. There's tons of on the Beatitudes. There's a lot out there, and so some people see it as this list or things that we're to do so that we get these blessings. Some see it as a progression or sequence that we're to follow, a plan of life that unfolds as stepping stones for a ladder on the way back to God. Now, this is a notion that was first articulated by St. Augustine in his commentary on the Sermon on the Mount. It was also referenced repeatedly by St. Thomas Aquinas, if you know any of that kind of stuff. Also, people see it as like a 12-step program, but only in 8 steps. And that each step is a foundation that we follow, each one that you follow after the other. So just like the 12-step concept, I love this idea that we're never done with each of the Beatitudes, right? Or as gifts, that they're never done with us. Just because we're moving on to the other steps doesn't mean you've mastered the Beatitudes. So it's something you cooperate with them, which I like. But there's another perspective I like as well that I want to share with you. I want to read this perspective, theology writer, pastor that I found. It says this: what if the Beatitudes aren't about a list of conditions we should try and meet to be blessed? What if these are not virtues we should aspire to, but what if Jesus saying blessed are the meek is not instructive? What if it's performative? Meaning the pronouncement of blessing is actually what confers the blessing itself. Maybe the Sermon on the Mount is all about Jesus' seemingly lavish blessing of the world around him, especially that which society doesn't seem to have much time for. People in pain, people who work for peace instead of profit, people who exercise mercy instead of vengeance. So maybe Jesus is actually just blessing people, especially the people who never seem to receive blessings otherwise. I mean, come on, doesn't that just sound like something Jesus would do? Extravagantly throwing around blessings as though they grew on trees. I love this idea. as a 12-step program, but I also see them as like just straight up blessings that he gives. And here's the you have to remember the context in which they were given. He's doing this on the side of a mountain, and he's speaking. His ministry is growing. He's just had his disciples commit to him, and so they're growing around him. And he's in the Galilee area, so he goes up on the side of the mountain because the crowd is big. And the thing we have to remember is that he begins this sermon. It's profound and it's most inspiring, but it's also absurd because at the end of the Sermon on the Mount, it says this: when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching. So this amaze could also be perplexed or absurd because of what he says. It just doesn't make earthly sense. It doesn't make what he's saying, it just doesn't jive with what they've always been taught. And so you have to start with those people in the present, the people that are around him, the people that are listening to it. It's his disciples. The disciples are there, but it's also the crowds that are around him. Some people are interested, but others who are haters, people who don't know what's going on. And so he's speaking to all these people, and he has his disciples in front of him. And so he's speaking directly to them, knowing that those other people are listening. And so I want to say that he's speaking to his disciples, but he's describing what it means to those that are listening. So it's also an invitation. And so I agree that it's these blessings. He's speaking these blessings over his disciples and to those who commit to him in the future, but also to the blessings of those in the world who seeks him. So here's this first beatitude. He says this: "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now, poor in spirit is spiritual and figurative here, right? You see, his disciples, they gave up everything. They were literally poor. They were needy in every way. They didn't know where their next meal is coming from, but they also didn't know what they didn't know, right? They're babies in this spiritual world. They don't know what's going on around them. And so the poor in spirit know that they don't know. They know they don't have all the answers. Theirs is a journey of faith, trust, and patience. So, as I grow in my faith, I realize that certainty is ever changing. These are things I know, that there are things I know, but as I come to know them, they change. So if I hold on to the thing that I thought I knew, I miss out on the bigger knowledge that God is growing in me. So sometimes the greatest idea I can grasp is that I don't know, and I'm at peace with that. So when I started my studies, they said that seminary can become a cemetery for some. And what they mean by that is that when you dive deep into God's word, the things you used to hold on to are stripped away. So if those are what your faith are built on, then some lose their faith. Instead of recognize that God can't be put in this nice, knowable box, but as you learn and grow, the more questions come up. Not because it's slippery and unattainable, but because there is so much to know. So to follow God is to become poor in spirit, to let go of what you know, and to go on a journey of learning. The first step in following Jesus is letting go of what you don't know so that you can know so much more. Now, letting go, it's scary, right? I have nothing to hold on to. It's that faith step, right? It's that Indiana Jones scene where he has to cross that ravine and doesn't seem like there's anything there, but then he throws rocks on it and he sees that there's a bridge that goes across it. It's that leap of faith. That's poor in spirit. And so, in today's society, we hold up people of knowledge, people who know things, and that's a good thing. But maybe we should also hold up people who are questioning, and to know that questioning is okay. So I want to close with a modern reading of the first beatitude. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the agnostics. Blessed are they who doubt, those who aren't sure, who can still be surprised. Blessed are those who are spiritually impoverished and therefore not so certain about everything that they no longer take in new information. Blessed are those who have nothing to offer. Blessed are they for whom nothing seems to be working. Blessed are the preschoolers who cut in line at communion. Blessed are the poor in spirit. You are of heaven, and Jesus blesses you. And so, may we be people who seek the absurdity in our lives by letting go of what we know and become people who question. May we become poor in spirit. Grace and peace.